It's the Math Science Nucleuses, which is the nonprofit. Then we have Tule ponds at Tyson's Lagoon. If you look on the green words, you can click on there and get information about Tule ponds from plants, animals, background information. Then we have California Nursery Historical Park. Again, you can get information about the park itself and what we offer there. And then the Masonic Home Reforestation Project. Now this project and the Tule ponds is more scientific. The one with California Nursery has a lot of history. So I'm going to show you a little video of how these three places work together. And this is from, if you want to see it again, it's from this link on Masonic composting. So.
The inspiration for the restoration at the Masonic home was an area that the Math Science Nucleus works with Alameda County Flood Control and Water Conservation District called Tule Ponds at Tyson's Lagoon. Our role in the Masonic Restoration Project is to coordinate the science to make it work. The long-term goal is a complete reforestation of about 1,000 acres, and that includes the Masonic home, Cal State East Bay, and possibly East Bay Regional.
We have a new reforestation program in partnership with Tyson and Math Nucleus. And that partnership is bringing back some of the native species to the hillsides. So we're planting trees on the hillside and we're using that soil amendment to help those trees grow.
And we started to look at using food waste to accelerate composting. So we looked at different machinery to accelerate it using thermophilic composting, which means getting your food waste in a closed bin system to increase its heat and creating compost much quicker than you could naturally. Carbon sequestration is a process by which you're holding carbon into the soil and it's not released to the atmosphere. Using the food waste and not putting in the landfill, it basically prevents the creation of methane. You're also creating horse manure, which is providing nitrogen, and you're not allowing that to release as methane. And so you're making a mixture that's enriching the soil and getting the nitrogen into the soil, the carbon into the soil, and you're creating just an excellent blend between preventing those methane gases, the greenhouse gases, from escaping and creating an area that will later be able to support trees, which the soil right now can't support the trees because it's been devoid of decomposition for years.
My name is Manuel. I'm the executive chef here at Masonic Homes of California. We do approximately 900 meals per day, times 365. All of our waste product goes into the bins. Scraps, everything except hard bones. So from here, it gets taken downstairs by our crew, and then somebody from Tyson comes and picks it up and takes it all the way up to the top. And then they bring us back clean, empty bins. And that happens 6 days a week. I would say that we're probably down 50 to 60% by composting rather than filling up trash bags.
We've saved quite a bit of money over the years that we've been doing this program, as our food waste is no longer being moved into our landfills. And our residents have really been actively engaged in the entire process. They're part of the farming and they're part of the byproduct of the farming, so and they're enjoying this as well. This is actually the first Masonic home in California, and the building was built originally in 1892.
It's been here since, in our family, since 1917, but actually started with John Rock in 1884. He was a German immigrant that came here in the 1850s and was involved in our Civil War.
John Rock was a master mason. John Rock was instrumental in the landscaping initially for the Masonic homes and provided all of the trees and all of the shrubbery currently located here.
Well, after John Rock, my grandfather became interested in the property. In the course of the transition, selling of the property to a developer, the city preserved some acreage for a park, and eventually it turned out to be about 21 acres, which is what's here today.
So right now we have about 30 acres that we are going to partner with Dig Deep Farms. And those 30 acres, we will probably begin with a 5-acre parcel and probably expand quickly to 10 acres, and those will be planted by our partnership with the Alameda County Deputy Sheriff's Association.
So working with the Masonic Homes of Union City has been a great opportunity for us. This is some of the last fertile flat land on the bay side of Alameda County, and it's just a golden opportunity for us. It'll allow us to increase the amount of produce that we are cycling through our program, increase our sales, provide more employment opportunities for the youth of Alameda County. It's just a wonderful opportunity. We're searching for a way where we could make an impact on economic development, and we created a social enterprise called Dig Deep Farms. And we were able to secure several grants, employed folks from the ages of 16 up to the ages of 40. One of our chief goals was to be able to link those folks coming through our clinical case management program to jobs in the urban agriculture, local food system world. And we've been reasonably successful doing that. And the opportunity to bring the compost that's being generated from the food waste out of the Masonic homes and use it on our farming operation is a wonderful environmental opportunity. It's a opportunity to do an urban closed circle farming operation to sell produce back into the communities that are food deserts within our community. I think is a unique opportunity.
So what we decided to do was make compost, make piles, start mixing it in the soil, leaving it fallow for about 2 years, and then starting to put trees that we started here at the California Nursery.
Today we're going to just try to put this road in so they can haul the composting stuff up to the top of the hill. It's probably going to be one of the biggest restoration projects in Alameda County.
So for the hillsides, we see reforestation as an important byproduct of what we're doing in these programs, and we'll be able to see the fruits of that labor hopefully in the next 10 to 20 years as we see those trees grow on the hillside. I think it's been a great partnership to be able to give back to the community and to be able to be more conscious about the environment here.
Okay, so let me escape this. And I'm going to stop the share, and then I'm going to start presentation on just a PowerPoint presentation so we can, oh, let me go back. Excuse me. I'm going to share screen, PowerPoint, share. Okay, then I'm going to go slide share. So now I'm going to go over some of the projects that we have. What I wanted to show you there is that is when we first started working with Benchmark students, which was a long time ago when Benchmark first started, we never thought that we would have this place where you create understanding, but then you also create jobs. That's the whole thing about kind of benchmark, is that you're trying to change your environment, and what we've done with students have basically changed the environment. So let's look at these environmental projects for Irvington Benchmark. As you look at the first picture there, that's Tule Ponds. Second one is California Nursery, and the third one is Masonic Home. So let's just take a look at the different types of projects and the background information, just so you realize they are very close to each other. Tule Ponds is near the Fremont BART station. If you go on the platform and look down, you see a lake. That's a 5-acre lake that we operate. Most of, if you guys work with us, we'll be working there. California Nursery and Masonic Home, those, because it has to do with rain and reforestation, most of that will be during the rainy season. We can't plant because we don't have irrigation there. We're trying to do this all natural. And compost will allow you to do it without having irrigation. And so the Masonic Home, we do plantings, and we do usually around the holidays, around the Christmas holidays, and then till February, March. And that's same with the California Nursery. The trees there are in pots, but right now they're redoing California Nursery, so we'd have limited access to it. So most of the work will be done at Tule Ponds. So let me just go over again. Masonic Home reforestation. We're using 2 tons of food, 2 tons of horse manure, 2 tons of wood chips, and we make about 2 tons per week of compost that we use in the area that you just seen us retrofitting there. So if you look here, this is a area here. We're working on 200 acres right now that the Masonic Homes use. It's unused by anything else other than grazing. And so we've already planted, students have planted, we've had Eagle Scouts, we've had Benchmark kids plant at least 200 trees already. And then we keep working with them. And so we have a little forest growing there right now. Okay, so this is actually what it looked like before in that upper left-hand picture. And then on the bottom, it's starting to look like the bottom there with oak trees, walnut trees, trees that provide food for the local areas. We've also, one thing nice about coming up here is that you can see the entire Bay Area. On a good day, you could see past Golden Gate. And you have, you could just see the whole city. It's just absolutely gorgeous. This is the area that we're reforesting and allowing those trees to take that carbon uptake and put it into the ground and leaving it there. Remember, I use that term carbon sequestration. Okay, and then this is our, if you didn't understand that this is an in-vessel composter, it's not that we're heating it. We're allowing a microorganism called actinomyces. They're the ones that are giving off the heat, and that's why it gets hot. But they are quickly decomposing it quicker than most organisms. They provide that, it's actinomyces that gives the earth that earthy smell. It's their what they do to the food waste very quickly. So that's where the heat's coming from. We're not actually heating that. I wanted to make sure you understood that. Then the trees, we have those at California Nursery. And this is just some pictures of the California nursery. But I'd like to concentrate more on tulipans because that's where mainly every Saturday we are open from 9 to 12. We take a break from 12 to 1, then you can come back from 1 to 3. So you can actually get 5 hours, but we don't recommend that because environmental work is not for people that don't like to work. Now, this area here is a natural lake, as we said before. The earthquake, the Hayward Fault has created this basin, but then humans created another area where it is depressed and stormwater comes in, and we use tules. Tules is what we call a plant that does bioremediation. It takes bad things out of the water as it goes through the system. So this again is cleaning water. So we're cleaning soil, we're making soil good, we're making water good. So these are some, this is one of the change projects that we had here. These boys wanted to do an area where they bring back native fish. So they went around and got native fish from local fish hatcheries. They went all the way up to UC Davis. They made a little pond for them to put them in there. One thing we didn't realize was that because it's native fish, the raccoons just loved them and they ate them within a week. So sometimes you have to learn by making mistakes. So we haven't tried to do this again, but we learned a lot by sometimes making mistakes makes it better for the next time. So let's take a look at walking through tulipans. We have lots of birds. This is more toward winter, where you can see the trees have losing their leaves, except for the oak trees, which stay green all year round. And you can see that it is winter because we have lots of storm water coming in there. One of our key focuses that you would be working on would be in increasing habitat for these animals. As Fremont, when I first moved here in the 70s, and for people who were born here, a long time ago, like Bruce Roding, the older man in that video, Fremont was the last bastion of openness. But now we have lots of homes, we have lots of transportation hubs. And so our native animals have very few places to go. And so this is one of the few that allow the animals to actually feed. You have to remember we're on a flyway. That means birds, when they migrate, they're looking for water as they're going from Southern California to Northern California. So we have Lake Elizabeth, we have Quarry Lakes, but this is the last, one of the last natural. Lake Elizabeth is not natural. It's part of what was called the Stivers Lagoon at one time, but that is actually for flood control. And Quarry Lakes is just that. It was a quarry that breached its aquifer and then flooded. So the kind of projects that we have are ranged from, individual projects, or you can work with a larger project. But we have a lot of removal of non-natives, things that don't belong here, that the native organisms like raccoon, possums, a lot of the birds won't eat. So we do a lot of removal because we are in a city and we get a lot of non-native seed. We have a greenhouse where we will can start growing seeds. So you collect seeds from some of the oaks or from the buckeyes or some of the other trees or shrubs like false indigo, and we start growing them in our greenhouse. We also have a lot of projects just on animal habitat where we create shelters for animals, not shelters that you buy. We don't like those. We make them out of wood that we have, logs, holes. That's what they are used to. We'd have a lot of removal of dead limbs, especially now because of the drought season. We have a lot of our trees died because of drought conditions. So we have to get rid of them before. We don't want to have it go up in flames. We have a lot of tree maintenance. Again, because of the drought, some of our trees have really fallen down because they just don't have enough water. But then in other areas, because of the drought, they're growing too rapidly because the water is under the surface, and we get a lot of these non-native, we get palm trees growing, we get white ash, non-natives that are overtaking some of the areas. We also have working with potted plants, especially the ones that will go up to Masonic home. We also have a lot of erosion control because we're just a small area, and because it's being uplifted by the Hayward Fault, we have some really steep areas. So we have a lot of vegetation like sedges and that hold in erosion. So we have a variety of things. We also have things like stream maintenance, where some of the water as it rushes through causes eroded states. So why are we creating habitat? This was this year. And as you can tell, that little mommy mallard has about 10 little babies there. Those are tules all around it. We provide a safe haven. That's what tules do. And so the hawks and some of the other big predators don't eat. So we have a lot of, especially birds that use our area. Now, like in this area right now, it is full of tules and we have to cut them down. So we make an area that is good for the animals to live, but also provides a hiding place. Now, all habitats need water. So let's look what happens when it rains. Water will come down pretty fast. It starts eroding the banks because sometimes it comes, and this is only like an inch of rain. If we get 2-3 inches of rain, you can't stand up. The water is so powerful. But what happens is it brings these non-native seeds into the area, and we're constantly fighting this battle. But all habitats need water in order to bring animals. Now let's look at habitat that
At Tule ponds, we plant a variety of different plants, from milkweed to mallows, to help bring back certain insects. So this is an area where children maintain, mainly teenagers, and it allows the native animals to come back.
So that's one of the good things, that you're helping the environment, but on non-pandemic years, we bring over 150 classes to this area from around the Bay Area, especially on BART. And this is where they start learning about nature. At one time, nature was all around us, but now it's not. And so now we have to show them the calmness and the beauty of native vegetation. And so that's one of the benefits of what you will be doing with us. Now, this is an area that we usually have a lot of projects in the butterfly meadow. It doesn't look like this. This was after a benchmark year where the kids cleaned it up.
This is looking at the butterfly meadow, which is about an acre of different types of plants. The one we're walking toward is a marsh mallow. The early Native Americans would eat the root, they would roast it, and would have the flavor of today's marsh mallow. Marsh meaning wet, and mallow is the type of plant. The painted lady loves this plant.
So that's one of the reasons why we have it here, is that certain butterflies only lay their eggs on certain plants, and then when they lay the eggs and they hatch, the little caterpillars will only eat those leaves. And so this is important to understand this life cycle. It's not just doing nectar plants. You need those too for your native bees and for your insects, for pollination. But for the butterflies, you need to know exactly what butterfly you want to bring back. So this one brings the painted lady, which comes along in the springtime. Now we also have, you guys are probably familiar with this guy. This is called a monarch. This is in male because it has those dots. I'll show you this picture, but this is a plant called the California lilac that we like to plant in the areas, but a lot of our plants are stressed, so some of them are going to have to be replaced.
This is a male monarch. You can see that it has these dots. You can see they have a little relief to them. Those are where they have pheromones to attract the female. So this is a male.
And usually in November, October, November, the monarchs come in droves. This year, because of the fires, we're seeing a big decrease in our monarchs. We're hoping when the fires die out, they can come, because our monarchs are actually coming from the Colorado area, but to get over, you just can't go through the fire. So there's a lot of environmental issues that happen far away, but still impact us. But that doesn't mean they won't come back. They will come back if we keep our vegetation going. Now, also, we have other little critters that help with the soil. A lot of people don't like ants and spiders, and they don't like them. But guess what? They are so, so important to the environment.
Spiders, worms, and ants all over the place doing their job.
And their job is to decompose. Like underneath Tule ponds, we have some very large colonies of ants, and they have, ants are just kind of wonderful. When you look at their, the way their home structure is and how they reproduce. And we have a lot of these areas where we can show elementary kids how they are important. You got to remember, by mass, they are the most abundant animal in the world. Without them, we could not have natural decomposing. Now we have areas that we create habitats. So as you can see here, this is an area in the back where the butterfly meadow is. See how close we are to the homes. We have an area, because of the drought, we couldn't keep it going. So we need to replenish it with some flowers or seeds, but we also have to put more nutrients in it, because we have compost piles that we have to mix in it. So some of the projects would include working in an area that you're putting the compost in, you're turning it over. You have to remember, you have to turn over soil to bring air in there, to get that those little critters to do their job. Then you plant your plants, and then they would be successful. So we have a lot of those kind of projects around. What we then do is, as you fill in a request, we will go over and then we assign an area, and then that area is where your group works. And I'll talk a lot more about that in a minute. We also have other areas that we need habitat. So like this is in the back in our seasonal wetland, and you see those funny, like kind of brownish ones in the right-hand side. Those are curly dock, and the animals don't eat them. So we need to get rid of those and put other kinds of vegetation. This area here is also a reptilian nursery, where the turtles, we have the western pond turtle, likes to lay their eggs in this area. Those areas have to be leveled and has to be controlled. We have to make a pathway over to the water so they get there without the hawks eating them. And as you can see, some of our trees need trimming to kind of bring them up a little. We got to remember, we're still in a city, and we have to make sure that we can get through this area. We also have native plants that maybe are too successful. And if you look on the ones on the bottom, you see it got a big cigar kind of at the end, or these are called cattails. Cattails, those are little seed pods. There's millions of seeds in just one of those. What happens is when they explode, they are more aggressive grower than the tules. It's the tule that's the most beneficial. So sometimes we have to get rid of the seed pods so they don't grow into areas that they shouldn't. And so these are helping to create habitat. So a lot of the assignments just help the local animals survive. Now, can you notice what native animal is in there? Can you guys see it? It's the one with the bandit. We do have lots of raccoon, not as many as I would like. Because of the drought, we've had some problems with food sources, but we have these structures throughout Tule ponds. Usually they're Eagle Scout projects, and those need to be cleaned and maintained. Sometimes they need to be repainted, but the raccoon, who has been here longer than any humans, they've been here since the early Pleistocene, they have learned to adapt and to live in our area. And a lot of people think, well, they're nasty rodents, but they are not. They actually help clean the environment and help with the food chain. So our raccoons, we have about 10, and then we usually have babies all the time. But and education to other people is very important. This is one of our bridges. Then we have areas, this is like a way station for when we take the kids. In the case of this, we need to make a Tule mat on the top, but as you can see, the drought has kind of decimated some of our plants, and we need to replant them, but we have to mulch the area, and we have to get rid of some of our blackberry, our non-native blackberry, which kind of overtakes the area. But these are the areas that you get to work in. Now, how do you do this? Well, Tule Ponds is 17 acres, so it's quite large. We can easily accommodate 40 people working here. And how we do this is the following. We do have like a back area, so you can actually park in the back. But usually what happens is parents drop the students off in the front. You usually sign into the classroom. And in the classroom, then you go out in the back to get your tools. Now, this little area, you can see there's a greenhouse. If you're working with growing seeds from beginning, you would be using the greenhouse. But then you see that little shed there. That's where most of the tools are that we let the benchmark kids get their tools. Usually you get your tools out and then you put them back as you found it. We have to be real careful because we have a lot of kids using our tools. Try not to break them. If you do, please tell us, or if you know how to fix them, that would be great too. And then that green thing right there is our green race. So if you're getting rid of blackberries, you don't cut the blackberries and put them in a pile, you get rid of them, because if you leave them there, they'll just continually growing and growing. So we try to make an area where it's easy to kind of work with. This is if you open up the area, and this will be all cleaned by the time you guys want to work here, where we have the shovels all in place, and we get rid of some of the other areas where you get your tools, and please only take the tools that you need. So if there's only 2 of you, you don't need 4 tools. You need to pick the tools that you would need. And this is what we would go over with you if you have questions. And a lot of this is online. We do have an area on what kind of tools that you need. Your parents do not have to be here. We have adults here to come. They can drop you off in the front, but if they want to stay, they are welcome to. We usually try to make them work though, so a lot of them don't like to stay. You have to be careful at all times. So like we have wheelbarrows. You don't carry your friend in the wheelbarrow, and you try not to break any of our stuff. Because of the pandemic, you're going to have to bring your own water and your own snack if you want. Usually we have 9 to 3, and you usually take a self-imposed break, usually like 15 minutes to a half hour. This is hard work. It's not work that you can just do lightly. If it's hot out, you need to take breaks. And if you're not used to it, then you should be careful. Also, we provide the gloves. You need leather gloves, because a lot of the stuff what you're getting is pinchy. So if you want to bring your own gloves, you are welcome, but don't bring any of those soft cloth ones. They do not work. You need leather gloves. Okay, so this is an area over to the right-hand side. If you want to do any plantings, we have all of our wheelbarrows on the side. We're going to have to buy a few more. We've had a lot of breakage this summer. But we also have, if you're planting, we have all of the planting tools. We have areas where we have soil, but if you take our soil, which other students would have made, you have to replace the soil. If you look over to your left, those are our soil. We get native soil and we mix it with compost that we have on site. And then we leave it in areas where the little organisms do their thing, and then it'll be good for next year. So we have all these areas where you can use from the last people that helped us. Okay, now, what kind of service do we have available? On our website, which I'll go over again toward the end, on our website, we have this document. And basically this document goes through the rules and then some of the things we feel are good for ninth graders. You have to remember, ninth graders, environmental science is actually very involved. It includes geology, chemistry, biology. It includes a lot of sciences. And you're just at the beginning of your career, of your academic career. Some of you will be scientists, some of you will not. But it's always good to know about the world around you. So there's a lot of threshold that you have to go through to learn about the environment. And we tried to put that stuff on our website to help you on your journey. So this will be on it, and I'll show you when we go back onto the website so that you can see where you can find this. As I understand it, you can start your service project starting October 11th. We are open on Saturdays. We are open from 9 to 12. Like I said, the break, because I usually come in the morning, but I leave Art there, so he needs lunch. So 12 to 1, you can come back at 1 to 3 and do another 2 hours, or you can just come in the afternoon, or you just come in the morning. That's what we recommend. So that your service starts October 11th. So that means the first service that you guys can do would be October 19th. Now, the assignment of projects will be October 19th, 23rd, and 30th. After you fill out a sheet, I will tell you which of those days you can come in with your group. And I will try to personally or with the group. So like say you're doing removal of non-natives and you want to do blackberries. Well, there might be 3 groups that might want to do that. I would ask you to come on one of those days so I can show you how to do it. Removal of these materials is very specific on what you're getting rid of. So it's better that I just go over what you need to do. We also have on our website, so like when I get the sheet back for your group, if I think we have a video that might help you, like how do you remove a tree? How do you remove some of these non-native little saplings that are growing, then we do have a video, and I'll send that to you, and you could look exactly on how to do that so you're prepared when you come. So on October 19th, the 23rd, and 30th, those are the next Saturdays. I should get enough groups. Now, sometimes we can only allow so many, especially with the pandemic, we can only allow about 40 people on the site. Not only for tools, but for safety reasons. We don't want you congregating all together. So your teams, basically, you submit a form. Which I will go over in a second when I bring it up. And that is also on our website. You will return that to me, and then I will see what you're doing, and then I would give you a date on which at least 2 members of the team have to come back. Then you can come back on Saturdays, and you can then just drop in with your group. You have to have at least 2 people in your group. We always have the buddy system here. Because it's 17 acres, and if you're doing a project in the back, we want to make sure that if something happens, that there's somebody that could at least tell the adult that is there. We'll arrange your time for service. Now you have to remember when the rains come, It's not that pleasant to do rains, and you only have until March 11th. Also, if you're doing things like for butterflies, you can plant them in now in the fall, and then you can start showing them. A lot of kids come back and plant a seed and come back and go, well, why aren't the flowers blooming? Well, that isn't how it works. Nature takes time. And so you have to get areas prepared, and then you let the rains and there's seasons in which things come out. And so that's something that you have to think about. So you always want to leave, like you probably want to do most of your work before February for sure. And then you come back and take pictures for your project so you can show, was it a success or was it not? Some people don't have successful projects even if they work a lot. And some, because they don't work a lot, aren't successful. So, but most of the ones that do put the time in make successful projects. Okay, so this is the sheet that I'm talking about. This you can download off of our website, which I will show you again when I finish this. You put the name of the project, only put your science teacher, and put the names of the students in your group. Please put an emergency phone number. So not your phone number, but say your mother or something, just in case something happens and we have to call an adult in. Put your contact email, only the leader. I only communicate with your leader because it's just too many kids for us to deal with. So just the contact email, and then that leader should be communicating that information. It's very vital. A lot of times we'll get some where the leader doesn't do their job. The leader is supposed to lead, and these are good skills to learn. You just don't get that information out of thin air. It has to be moved around. Then you have to kind of put what kind of activity or the goal of your project. So if you want to learn about nectar for bees, or we don't have, and then projects like putting bird feeders, that don't work here. Everything has to be environmentally sound. We don't do things like bee boxes because bee boxes are for the non-native bees. Non-native bees is what make honey. Our bees, as a matter of fact, are ground bees. So we have to look for areas for them. So you have to think about and then pretty flowers. Just because a flower is pretty and you bought it at a nursery like Lowe's or Home Depot doesn't mean it has nectar. Matter of fact, most of them don't, because a lot of people don't like bees. They don't like to get stung. So they just want it pretty. So you have to make the distinction between what is environmentally sound to keep the environment going, and then what is just a human thought of what is environmental. You have to make the difference. Now, this is the sheet where you keep track of your hours. You put your name and then the days that you come and then the hours. You still will have to keep track of the hours for your school, which you usually sign every week. But this way, this is in its own benchmark binder that we put, that you put your hours in so we can keep track of it, because so many times, oh, I forgot what my hours were. This way you can look real quickly how many hours you have. And if I remember, it's still 10 hours each. So it should be clean. So this is our website, msnucleus.org. Okay, that's the mother, or that's the nonprofit. For the sheet itself, you will have to go over to where it says tulipans. Then you have to go to volunteer. Then over here in the right-hand corner, you can download the projects. So right here, this one here is that document that can give you some ideas. And there's also other parts on our website that expand these. Then we have here, this is the application. Now, please send it to me as a PDF. Please don't send it to me in your Google Docs. A lot of times you have to do Google Docs and I have to have access to it. It'd be much easier if you send this as an attachment to me. It could be either in Word, or you can even take a picture of it and then print it out, take a picture, make a PDF and send it to me. I will print it out and then put it in the book, and then the contact email of the appointment of those 3 days. So it will be probably 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. So you would be with maybe 10 other groups. So this way you can ask a lot of questions. I'm really good with email. So email is the way to contact me. If you text me 2 to 1, I will not. That's just too much. I'm just too old for texting, and I don't do Instagrams or anything like that. So this is the sheet that you would be using. Now let me go over again. Let's go back to the home page. Okay. So this shows you the days. If it is raining terribly, we will not open up, because sometimes the area gets flooded. Hopefully we'll get lots of rain this season. I don't think so, but if it does and it floods, we do have to shut down because it can get treacherous over there. Now, if you notice, all Saturdays we are open. Now, say you don't want to do tulip ponds and you wanted to just do trees. Use that same form, but put that you want to do Masonic home or you want to do trees. And remember, those are only during the holidays, because during the week we can go up there, because it's just different access than tulip ponds. Tulip ponds we maintain, so it's easy to do Saturdays. And so there'll be certain days. So if there's certain things you want to do, just put it on that same form and send it to me also. But this is the master page. So let me show you again how I got to it. I went to tulip ponds and then went to volunteer. Now there's also another page that might be of interest to you, and then I'll open it up to questions, is over here on the left-hand side. See where it says local watersheds. Say you want to do some other areas. This map here, we actually created specifically for benchmark kids. So if you wanted to do some other areas, you would just click on it. So like say you want to do Stivers Lagoon, you would click on it and it would have more information on it. So we try to get as much information for you as we can. So it will click back. And then if you look up on the top, it says home, map, general, biological, geological, and chemical. So like say you want to do a chemical project, will show you how to do some of the chemistry stuff. We used to do a lot more chemistry, but I realized that benchmark kids do not, you're freshmen, most of you are not taking chemistry. So then we have geologic, biological, and just general. So it gives us back, student projects and the history of some of this area. Now, if you can believe this, see this little picture? It says Irvington Creek, 1999. That's when this was one of the first benchmark projects. All of the vegetation there was done by benchmark students. And also that little pergola and the where you sit underneath there for lunch, that was done also by parts of the benchmark project. So we've done a lot of good, and you guys can also do a lot of good. There's so much work still to be done.